Hello everyone, welcome back to Random Acts of Squirrels. Today, Random Acts of Squirrel, it's going to be Act 2. It's going to be spiders, seals, and Eskimos. Oh my! Kind of three things. I'm going to walk through the history of what this means. Some people might be curious, some may not. I don't know. I've babbled to everyone today, so the small audience that see it, they probably know the hook and line already. But a little bit of the history, a little bit of what happened, kind of the facts that I drew out of it, and then something I kind of gathered out of it, things that I think are worth learning or poking from. So first of all, the spiders, the seals, and the Eskimos are three teams from a long time ago. The Cleveland Spiders existed like early 1870s to I think it was 1870s to 1880s, or until about like 1899. They were in the National League, and then kapoof, they're gone. So for those who are somewhat baseball nuts or things, there was a National League team in Cleveland at one point in time. It was called the Spiders, and they don't exist anymore. Secondly, the Seals. The Seals is a team that was set initially in the Bay Area around San Francisco, Oakland, that kind of area, and they're referred to as the California Seals, the Oakland Seals, the San Francisco Seals, or I think Bayfront Seals. I found it in a book that I read. It was fascinating. And they're often referred to as the Golden Seals. They didn't do very well there. They moved into, they went into Cleveland, which that's two here, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And then, well, we'll get back to them later, but they didn't do very well either. The third thing I'm going to bring up is a team called the Eskimos. They're the Duluth Eskimos. They are considered probably one of the early pioneer teams as far as the most important NFL pioneer teams that existed. They don't exist too either, by the way. There's a hook in this. Part of it is I don't like talking about failure, but I think learning from mistakes is important. So if there's something that happened where maybe something got built in the wrong way, or they just didn't plan right, or they undercut their plans, I think it's smart to understand those plans. And whether you're running a great big company, whether you're running a sports team, or whether you're running just your general life, if you learn from other people's mistakes, maybe you don't have to do the same stupid thing, and maybe you can save yourself some headache and heartache. So, starting out here, Cleveland Spiders. A little bit of backstory of them. They existed and were actually pretty good for a while. Thanks to my phone and wiki, I have some other. I have props today. Props are fun. They existed for a number of years. They're actually pretty good before they got into the National League. Then the owners went through and they bought another team called the St. Louis Browns, which you probably haven't heard of either. They were bad. And eventually they got sold and became the Baltimore Orioles, which most people know. But the problem was, towards the end of their run, the same team that owned the St. Louis Browns, which was in the American League, the other league, and the Cleveland Spiders, which was in the National League, they were owned by the same team. So your problem was that there was no law that come around like 1889 is when they last existed. The 1888 into 89 season, they literally pillaged all the people off of the Spiders team to make the Browns team better. So instead of having two mediocre teams, they decided to make a really bad team and then a better team, which still never really worked because the Browns had a history of still being awful. It got to the point that the Spiders were so bad that they actually didn't play any home games for like the last half of the season. They had like 20 home games. Their record was like 40 and 152, or like I think it was like 40 and like 110 or something like that, because there's 154 games in the season. They're awful. Second thing, Seals. I got this from this very cool book. We'll get closer, hide my face. And they talk about the Seals. And here's a couple things that are kind of cool. At some point, if I get creative enough, maybe then I'll like find fancy graphics. But today we're going to do show and tell. And this is kind of what the uniforms look like. By the way, it's a really cool book, kind of indirect way of studying history NHL if you like it. It talks about the uniforms, and then kind of uses the uniforms to guide you through the histories of each team, how they got there. It talks about all the defunct teams that are NHL teams. So the Seals were brought in like 1967 when the league literally doubled. There's the original 6 for those who don't know NHL. I know enough to get me in trouble. There's those original 6 teams, and then it expanded out. San Francisco, or the Bay Area, was one of those 6 teams. Some of those other teams, and anybody following, oh, by the way, if you like what you're seeing, please follow and put some comments. I'm not above criticism or critique, so if some of the information I gave is not completely accurate, I don't do this all on the fly, but I do a lot of prepping, and a lot of this is just free flow from what I remember. So I don't necessarily have all of my notes in front of me. But some of the teams that came out of there in 1967, I think, were like the Buffalo Sabres, Minnesota North Stars. Can't remember some of the others right now. I think there was a Kansas City team, but there were 6 other teams that got added. They were one of the 6 that went on that big expansion. Problem was, it went through in that just in San Francisco, it went through like 3 or 4 different owners, 3 or 4 different names, and even their name changed. They changed their colors. Eventually, the guy who owned the Oakland A's at that time, and that name I just read it. It's I can read it here, get it here. The guy who owned the Oakland A's, Charles O. Finley, in the 70s, he brought the Oakland A's from Kansas. One of the people I think brought Kansas City Athletics to Oakland. He decided he wanted to keep everything the same color and bring it to Oakland Coliseum. So he literally just changed the team colors to match the Oakland A's colors. So they went to like gold, white, and green. They had no stability. They had no regular place for their playing. Could never build a fan base. Were never good enough to really stick out. Their name changed. Their logos changed. There was nothing stable about them. Eventually, because they did so poorly, they ended up going to Cleveland. They became the Cleveland Barons in the last, I think, 1 or 2 seasons. I have to look it up if I want to be 100% certain on. Not very long. But they were still awful. They were horrible bad. And then they got absorbed into the North Stars. So you have this, one of the original teams got absorbed basically into one of its cousins. The third thing I'm bringing up, we'll wrap it up in a bow here soon, is this. I found this book. It is called Leatherheads of the North. I don't know where I found it. I find books all over, so probably Amazon, wherever if you want to go there. Not the best book, very informative, a little bit dry. Once it gets moving, it's pretty good. The facts are awesome, though. What it's about is, in the early NFL, before it kind of became a thing, there's like lots of teams. If you look it up, Google it, it's crazy, like maybe Wiki, like early teams, number of teams that came in and out. All these towns that you're like, how on earth did that team have a town? And what's crazy, you look at like all the teams, cities that you think of that would have them, they don't have them there. They're not there. They've been imported from other places. Like, I know the Detroit Lions got imported from somewhere else. Useless fact, but kind of valid, is one of the reasons that Green Bay was able to stay in Green Bay, not get absorbed, is the town of Green Bay at one point, when they're tight on money, did something so that the city, or like the town of Green Bay, actually owned them, and that's why they didn't leave. And that's why Green Bay, despite having a very small population, still has an NFL team. Duluth had the problem that it was about the size, say, like a Green Bay or something like that. It wasn't the biggest city, but in like 1920, it was a big deal because you had a lot of shipping and that kind of stuff going on. But it was in the middle of God knows where. Roads weren't very good, and nobody wanted to come up to Duluth, Minnesota to play. I've traveled in Duluth. It's a beautiful place to live. Or a beautiful place to visit. I wouldn't want to live there. So anybody in Duluth, please don't take it personally. I've seen what you call roads, and in winter they look like ice hills or skating hills or luge tracks, and I don't feel that talented, so I will let other people drive on those roads. The league was about to die, and a hardware store decided they wanted to create a football team with a neighboring Wisconsin town called Superior. And they ran them for a few years, eventually became the Duluth Eskimos because they started branding. They kind of did the Harlem Globetrotters thing for about a year and a half. So about the time the league was dying and they couldn't get regular money flow, the Duluth Eskimos played one game up in Duluth. And then they toured for about a year and a half basically propping up other teams. Their plan would have worked great, except for the fact that the New York Giants owner decided that with the shrinking of the NFL and all that kind of stuff, he wanted to get in on the game, and he had the bigger stars. He was New York. Duluth was Duluth. Nobody gave a hoot. And so eventually they got sold to New Jersey, and then they just evaporated. Why I'm bringing up the oh my parts of this here? Kind of walk through this way. We're going to talk, we'll write on my board. This is my board. It's empty right now, but hopefully I'll have kind of a cool thought after we all get done. So we're going to write spiders. And we're going to write seals. And Eskimos. And then I'll kind of say what my takeaway point is. If you guys come up with some other takeaway points out of it, I would love to hear it. Go ahead and put in the comments. If you like what you're starting to see, this is still really new. It's only number 2. You know the great thing about being the second video? That means there's the first one, and so I don't have to go through introductions again. So, spiders. First thing we're going to learn about them. Why did they fail? They basically pillaged themselves. So they stretched themselves too thin. And then they also had the problem that they're, the dual motives. You had, that's the term I'm going to use. We're going to use competing goals. On the seals, what we're going to go with, or that I get out of it, is they had no plan. They never knew what they were doing. They had no vision, no plan. No structure, which actually sounds better than vision. You in there. Wow. All of my penmanship instructors will hate me. So what kind of did them in was that lack of vision or the lack of structure. They were always an afterthought, and they never had the support to actually build anything. And for the Eskimos, I like to go with the idea of bad timing, or just, bad positioning. So what I kind of get out of that is this. Let's put the bow on it today. And thank you for all of you who have watched through this. If you like some of the stuff that you're seeing, like I said a couple times because I'm excited about this, kind of comment the parts you like. Definitely add to it. I'm not too humble to ask for subscribers. So if you like this, I have a couple movie ideas I'm going to run through here soon. But yeah, spiders' biggest problem is they literally are pillaging themselves. So this is like your bad habits in life, where you want to save, but maybe you like smoking or discovering that cigarettes cost too much in your life. So you're busy trying to save, but you're wasting all money on cigarettes. You just basically sap all your energy. Second part, with the seals part, you don't have the money, you don't have the vision, you don't have the plan, so you're just kind of playing defense the whole time. And when you do that, you don't make good decisions. A lot of the people bought it had no idea, they had no interest in the sport, they were just doing stuff, which just at best leads to slow death, usually leads to something catastrophic. The third one here, sounds weird because it's Eskimos. It parallels with the term that I heard within business. It's called the first penguin. Of the three, they're the one that I feel the least. I actually feel bad for them. The idea of the first penguin is every industry, whether it's NFL or whether it's the computer industry or television or whatever it is, there's typically one group or one guy that kind of goes through trailblazers. But in the process, they discover everything that's going to blow up on them. For me in my era, I remember Napster. Napster came through and basically created every legal problem they could that every other company afterwards would be able to follow. So they could watch it and go, okay, that's how Napster failed there, that's how they failed there, that's how they failed there. And so all these companies used their failures as a template so that they could learn from them and build a stronger thing. People like iTunes actively learned off of what Napster did wrong, learned how to work with the companies and say, okay, we want to do what they did, but we want to do it so you don't get mad at us. How do we do that? So I guess the takeaway on that is if you do find yourself in a place, maybe not try to reinvent the wheel. Maybe find a way of doing something that is not different. Let's go different, not innovative. Learn from others' mistakes, which I guess is kind of how I started the thing off. It's amazing how I circle this. I don't even try to sometimes. Hi, I'm humble. But learn from the mistakes. Learn how you can adjust those things and watch other things. Watch parallel industries and watch how these people learn from it. Watch your friends as they make decisions and they make better decisions. Or on the inverse, watch people who make good decisions and echo them. So I know that's one of the things that I came into when I made this is as I watched a lot of the videos that I loved, part of my brain said, who do I like? What do I like about them? What looks distinctly when they're doing their thing that just feels right for them? And what are those things that I want to borrow that I think I could do well? So big thank you for everyone who took it's a little bit longer today, but I got excited. So I think excited is a good thing. Everyone have a safe day. Have a good day. And thank you very much for your time. I hope everyone's looking forward to number 3. I'm looking forward to Act 3. I'm not sure what it's going to be. You aren't, but that's probably why you're going to watch Act 3. Thank you and have a good day.